All right, we're live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mac Yak this week. And we've got a few talking points that we're going to be looking at. Some of them you might be interested in, of course. You know, there's a Facebook RAM issue that we're going to talk about, some thermal eruption problems. And we're going to look at some of the utilities for cleaning and maintaining your Mac, as well as maybe some other topics because we like to, flow and go on. We've got right now 3 of our regular 5 people here. Hopefully, Jay and Retke will be joining us. And then, if you guys will go ahead and introduce yourself, I'm going to go first just to get me out of the way. I'm Rocky Meyer, owner of ICCRP, also the lead on the channel Evil Mod Pixie. And Greg, move over to you.
All right, I'm Greg Thompson. I am the main streamer. I'm the one actually doing the streaming work behind the scenes here. And I own the Mac Attack and also a Twitch channel as well. That's in the comment or in the description there. Mike, you're up.
I'm Mike Stanhope. I'm just here because I'm old and they couldn't find anybody else to do the job.
But I'm older, unfortunately.
I've been using Macs longer.
Oh, man.
Uh,
I have a channel, but nobody cares.
Oh, that's not true. People care. We care.
I haven't put anything on it in a couple of months.
Well, we're going to have to change that. So, all right. So let's see
It's a little
here.
cold right now.
Yeah. But let's see. Are we ready to go ahead and start on the Facebook RAM problem?
Sure, we can do that.
Even though we don't have Grudy and Jay.
Well, one of the things we want to talk about on this topic. Oh wait, I got the wrong topic up there. Oh no, I got the right one. Okay. The one biggest problem I noticed this past week was Facebook is eating up a lot of memory, and it kept going up and up and up. I got up to almost 4.5 gigabytes using Safari. Now I thought it might have been a Safari issue, so I tried it on Firefox. And guess what? Firefox was doing the same thing. And it's only on Facebook's website. Most of the other websites, I don't have that memory leak problem that Facebook has been having. And I know that you did the same thing there, Rocky.
Yep. I tested it on my Macs. I used, let's see, my test candidates were Google Chrome, which eats memory anyway, Safari, and Firefox, and it also just escalated in its RAM use, not as quickly as yours. And then I also tested it on Windows side, and it did the same thing in my Windows browsers. So it's definitely something's going on with them. Something's, did you test any of that, Mike?
I noticed the other night when I was on my Pro that Facebook was killing my memory. It creeped up. I didn't get nearly as bad as 4 gigs, but it was getting pretty close to using 1 gig on my 1,1 Mac Pro. And that's using WaterFox, which is just Firefox variant. I haven't tried Safari or anything like that. My options are kind of limited because I'm still stuck on 10.7 right now. So, but I have noticed my MacBook, it starts getting really sluggish after a while.
And that's exactly what I was noticing. So I went and opened up, activity monitor. And then when I saw the Facebook, the top memory hog up there, I was like, are you kidding me? 4 gigabytes? This is I had a 16 gigabyte MacBook Pro that it was eating up 1/4 of the memory just for that one tab, open. Now, when I closed it out and then opened it back up, it went down to about 600 megabytes. But then as I left it open and I browsed around Facebook, it kept creeping up and up and up and up. And I think you said you opened up one of the group web pages as the source. And what did you find there, Rocky?
When I opened up the source on it, it looks like what they're doing, at least in the way the group side of it works, is they're loading up a bunch of like JavaScripts, and they had them all just kind of being referenced and then loaded. And you're talking 50, 60 of those just for one group page. And that's pretty ridiculous because that can get into looping and That's I've never seen that before in any web page.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems with Facebook is they've gotten way bigger than what they started out to be, and I think just about every company does that, and they've gotten bigger and put more stuff in their code and haven't actually redone anything on Facebook since they started it. So you've got so much crap that's on their webpage now that it's just causing problems. So, I mean, any of the viewers out there, you guys having problems, let us know too. Tell us what you see as well. But this is something that Rocky and I noticed the other day, and so we decided to make a topic.
Yeah. And actually, I can go in here. I'm going to go into LEM if I can find it in my groups list here, because I actually have Facebook open, just like Mike was showing there. And then let me go ahead and see if I can pull up the inspect element here, maybe. Or was it page source? No, it was page source. I might have been doing it on a different browser. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably was, because Safari actually makes it a pain in the butt for me to do it the way I want it. So give me just a second here. I'll load up, maybe. I'll load up Firefox. We're going slow. No.
Yeah, Jay, I totally agree with you there. Facebook does need a complete code rewrite. I think the problem is that they've been. How long has Facebook been around? Anybody know? Like, what is it?
2003,
5, 6, 7 years.
No, it's been long. Yeah, it's been around longer than that.
Well, maybe 10 years or so, and they probably haven't changed their basic code base since they started. And that's probably the biggest problem is that that they've got all this junk in the old code that's not optimized anymore for the newer stuff, you know. Because I noticed when I open up a Facebook page, it takes so long to load a Facebook page versus any other page I load up.
Oh gosh, yes.
Well, just take this into consideration. If you use any pre-Intel Macs, any G series Macintoshes, it's Facebook is almost unusable. I mean, you can browse a lot of web pages using 10.4 Fox on a G4, a real high-end G4, or any G5 really, with very few problems. I mean, obviously there's going to be some video and rendering issues, but oh my God, Facebook is positively unusable. Safari on 10.4 or 10.5 is the only way you could even get on Facebook, and that's only because it's the mobile version, I think.
Yeah, and
I just saw a comment in there. Brock says it eats up 16 gigabytes on his iMac Pro with 128 gigabytes of RAM.
Holy Lord!
Yeah.
See, I don't know
16 gigabytes. That's all I have.
I'm looking at Rocky's picture there, and I'm like, oh my, that's all the stuff that's loaded up, right?
Yeah, I went to LowEM's, just the basic, right there on the group, and I did an inspect. Well, I did page source, and it showed me that, and it's just a page of JavaScript loaders and references, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. That's just insane.
I think we got a comment that says it works well in Classilla in mobile mode. Well, the reason why it probably does work well in mobile mode because it's not loading all that garbage up that it doesn't. Most mobile devices can't do.
That's true. You don't have Java on most devices unless it's an Android, but I don't know if Android actually implements JavaScript in the same way.
That's a good question. I don't know, but it's a good topic there.
Yeah.
So back to you, Rocky. It's on you.
Yeah. That would be a good topic, maybe in the future. But definitely that memory leak is an issue. So do we have any questions out there? Anybody?
Yeah, regarding this topic, yeah.
Or even regarding another topic, maybe. Preferably. No. Like, where's Jay? And where's Retke? There we go. That should be. All right, so are we ready to scoot on to our next one, or do we want to go on this a little bit more?
No, we can go on our next one.
Okay. Yeah, and if anybody has any comments about it, please let us know. We'll be happy to rehash a little bit. There's no script to this, so even though I'm reading one right off here to the right. Okay, so next up, thermal eruption. So we had, we're not going to name names, but
we're going to show a picture.
Yeah, there you go. That's even better. We did have an article that came up, or not article, post, however you want to refer to it, in Facebook, the low in Mac, wasn't it? Or was that in the Mac Pro users?
No, it was in Mac Pro users, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Here, I'll bring the picture up.
Sweet. So, right there in the picture, this individual who is obviously new to getting their hands dirty inside the machine, which is, I mean, it's understandable. Nobody learns this stuff overnight. I've been doing it, God, so long, I can't even remember. It's 10 plus years, 20 years. But in that situation, they had been using their Mac Pro, and then one day it went and wouldn't turn back on. So we have been kind of looking at what's going on there with the issue, and then it brought up another topic between ourselves. And I'm probably sure this is a topic that's gone around the internet quite a bit. I mean, there's some groups that have videos, some other groups that have done videos on it. And, you know, it goes back to a thermal paste issue, and I'm just rambling. So, Greg, do you want to put that back on course? Because I get derailed too easily.
Okay. Well, this is where we had all of us, or you and I and Jay, had a very good discussion on this. I think Jay and I were in agreement, and I think you were disagreeing with us a little bit on how much thermal paste to use, and is too much. Do you put too much or do you put too little? And how to apply it. There's a lot of different ways people apply thermal paste. One of them is they put a drop on it, then they just crank the heat sink down and let it spread itself. Myself, I prefer to put the drop down and then spread it around with a spreader to make sure it's evenly covered, because sometimes that stuff doesn't get, when you crank down the heat sink, sometimes it doesn't spread evenly, and you might get some on one side of the CPU die and some on none on the other. My whole thing about thermal paste is it's only there to fill in the cracks and crevices of your heat sink to the CPU die, so it makes a better mating contact with the CPU die. The picture that we got posted up there, to me, shows almost a quarter of an inch between the paste and the die. And to me, that is not good thermal conductivity to the heat sink, because thermal paste is not supposed to actually conduct the heat through it. It's supposed to basically just fill in the gaps to help you get a better seal on the die. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what it's there for. It was designed to replace what would normally be an air gap, because air would be an insulator, and that's you want.
But you look at this thing, and it's got so many cracks and crevices in there. I mean, there's so much air. And what happened with this particular individual? His computer basically stopped working, and to be honest with you, I think he fried the CPU, because that thing had no heat protection at all, if you look at it.
Yeah, and I believe, was it Jay that mentioned it, or it might have been you, mentioned that by the way it looks, I mean, because we got into a big heated discussion about, is there such a thing as too much thermal paste? And of course we can, we'll rehash plenty of that for you guys here in a moment.
Oh yeah.
But in this instance, we came to a census. Of course, it was brought up by Jay and I believe you, Greg, that by the look of it, it looks like, regardless of if there was too much put down or not enough put down, actually it was definitely a situation of it could have been borderline too much. It wasn't tightened down enough to where that heatsink made enough contact that it actually spread that thermal paste to the outer edges, where you get those globs on the outer edge like you should, because it was too clean on the outer edge, wasn't it?
Well, that particular instance, if you look at it, it looks like it was probably a deleaded CPU, and it had the ring around it where it probably kept the paste in, and the paste had nowhere to go when he cranked the heatsink down. So the heatsink was probably sitting on top of that. Yeah, see, even in our comments there, it says the picture above has way too much paste on it. And Brock also says the best way is to put a blob in the middle of the dye. No need to spread it around like cake frosting. Well, I mean, I prefer to spread it around. I know Jay prefers to do the same thing. I think you do it a little differently, right, Rocky?
I actually do the spread around method unless I'm in a time crunch where I'm just trying to see if a CPU works, and then I'll put a dot in the middle and let it spread as I put the heatsink down, because I'm not trying to run it for thermals at that point. So
yeah. What about you there, Mike?
I just goop it up and pray like hell.
I was going to say
No,
some of the Macs.
I'm kind of old school. I just put a little drop on and let the heatsink spread it out, because I look at it this way: the heatsink is going to spread it out better than me, because the heatsink knows where it's going to have to go. The only thing is, when you do it that way, you've got to make sure you use enough or not too much. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, just kind of comes with experience. But knock on wood, most of the time my computers, I don't have to worry about that too often, because I'm using new CPUs that have thermal. Most things use thermal pads now. So,
are you talking about the graphite?
Speaking of thermal pads, because I've seen Linus Tech Tips do that a lot. They went and did a review on the thermal pads, and they said they weren't too bad, but I'm not sure if I would want to use a thermal pad on something.
You got to categorize that, though. Are you talking, when you say thermal pad, are you talking like this type of thermal pad, which I use on different, Northbridge, Southbridge, stuff like that? Any chipset that's not high heat or whatever, RAM chips, stuff like that, you use, that kind of, and this happens to be a 6 kilowatt by Arctic. And,
Yeah.
Are you talking about that, or are you talking like what Jay uses, which happens to be the graphite pads that are specifically designed to actually transfer heat very well? I mean, there's according to the spec, according to what Jay says, which I wish he was on here.
Well, he's in the chat.
I know, but his punk butt needs to be on here.
Because the graphite pads are actually white good. I think he meant to say quite. He put a W instead of a Q. Brock actually says liquid metal.
No, liquid metal. I am one of those that is an avid do not user when it comes to liquid metal, even though liquid metal has very good thermal conductivity. The problem is you can get almost as good, if not better, using combinations of other things, using graphite, whatever. And the thing is, with liquid metal, it will eat your aluminum. I mean, that's what it does, because it's got gallium in it, or gallium, or however you pronounce it. And the other thing is, even if you don't have an aluminum contact in there, it's still going to erode away and cause harm to the copper eventually. It is completely viscous and liquid. It's going to move. I don't care what anybody says on that, unless you completely seal it, which is just going to be an asinine process. You're going to have issue. I mean, it's not worth it unless you're sitting there overclocking with, in a specialized case scenario for the average user, and especially anybody that puts on a laptop. I don't care who it is. You put it on a MacBook, you need to throw your MacBook in the trash, because you don't deserve to own one, in my opinion. That's my opinion.
Well, this is what I've heard about liquid metal. The problem with liquid metal is it doesn't last as long as regular thermal paste, like Arctic Silver or something like that, because it dries up a lot quicker and it doesn't last as long. So you're actually going to have to go back in more often to actually repaste, it more often than you would regular thermal paste. I mean, that's what I've read online and stuff. A lot of people have said. I mean, it does offer a whole lot better protection than regular thermal paste, such as Arctic, but it also is a lot. The lifespan of it's a lot shorter.
Mm-hmm. Well, even within that lifespan, where it stays completely liquid and fluid, that bothers me. You're gonna have a fluid thing, and unless that system is playing with it completely horizontal, how are you going to guarantee that stuff doesn't move?
Exactly. Especially like you said, a laptop. A laptop, you're moving around. You're putting vertical. You're putting horizontal. You're putting it in a backpack. You're carrying it around in your arms. It's being bumped around and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's just That's too unpredictable a situation. I can't.
And then you got something like, for instance, my iMac that's sitting right in front of me, where the CPU board is sitting like this. It's vertical. That stuff will drain down.
Exactly.
So for things like that, it's probably not a good idea either. Unless you've got something that's horizontal all the time. Even a
That's good.
I hate to mention it here, but if you did a PC, then that's something you don't know.
Yeah. Well, like Jay said, he's got a good point there. Do you apply the thermal paste to just the chip itself or the heatsink? I know in my personal case, I apply it just to the chip because the goal of the thermal paste, like we've said and mentioned, is to bridge the gap and eliminate any air gap that would cause insulating effect and cause heat to, grow stagnant and build up, whatever. Versus, and that's my personal case.
Yeah. So anybody in chat? Well, I'll let Rocky ask this because he's the one that's in charge tonight. Go ahead.
Anybody in chat? What am I asking? You go ahead here. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, if they have any questions,
Okay.
Brock says minus 30 degrees Celsius is what I see on the $6,000 custom gaming rigs I build. Minus 30 degrees? Are you sure about that, or is that 30 degrees Celsius?
That's minus 30 degrees. Let me pull up, and this will make some other people cringe, but I'm going to go Google on this route. Let's see what it says. Let's convert that to Fahrenheit and see what that looks like in the American Standard Fahrenheit here.
Well, normally 50 degrees is what most, between 40 and 50, I think, is what most CPUs run at idle. I know my MacBook Pro runs at about 50, about between 40, around 40, 45 at idle. Okay. And that's without the fans running. The fans don't kick on until a little bit later. But I think 100 degrees Celsius is what most of the CPUs are at thermal cutoff, where they start throttling.
Well, actually, most CPUs depends on the Intel Common, which would usually be in a Mac. The thermal cut is usually somewhere around like the 99 to 105 degree, because I believe 105 degrees Celsius is its actual like top temp before it starts to burn itself, and that is around 221 degrees Fahrenheit. I know I don't run my systems at idle any higher than 35 degrees Celsius. I hate seeing them at 40, and that would be in the range of about 95 degrees Fahrenheit at 35. And when you're talking, let's say 45, that's 113 degrees Fahrenheit. So you get into the Mac realm where Apple just has this insane just obsession with running things at 60 degrees Celsius, which is ridiculous. At idle, that's 149 degrees Fahrenheit according to the converter.
Yeah, the problem with Apple, and this is my big beef with Apple, is they would rather have something quiet, no fans. This comes back from the Steve Jobs day, and Mike can probably back us up on this. Back when the Macintosh first came out, he wanted no fans in it. You got the iMac G3, no fans, but man, if you got that thing running for a while and you put your hand over the top of it, you could feel the heat rising off of the thing.
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous.
This has been an issue since the early '80s with Apple. I don't know if you guys remember the Apple III or not. That was their first foray into a higher power computer with no fans, and look at what happened. It turned out to be a disaster. The Mac 128 and Mac 512 are both notorious for blowing their not their logic boards, but their analog boards because of no fan. Wow. It wasn't until the Plus, it wasn't until the SE came out when they finally put a fan in, and they finally realized, hey, these are lasting longer.
Well, I think that's because when the SE came out, wasn't Steve Jobs gone from the company then?
Yeah, 1986 was when the SE came out.
So basically, because to be honest with you, that was, I hate to say this, but that was one of Steve Jobs' worst design ideas, was no fan. I mean, he was the one that decided no fan, and that was the dumbest. He's not an engineer, of course. So
Yeah.
No, he wasn't the engineer. Wozniak was the engineer.
but I'm surprised Woz didn't tell him that, hey, you need a fan.
Well, I know from a fact that was always a point of contention between them, because I mean, especially like when the Apple III came out. I mean, the failure rate of the Apple III was 100%. They were actually telling people pick your computer up 6 inches and just drop it to get the chips to reseat on the logic boards, because they were getting that hot. The chips were literally popping out of their sockets.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know.
I remember seeing that about people having to take their computer and lift it up. Yeah.
Jeez. That's something that I didn't hear about. So.
Oh, that was actual tech support right there. You have a problem with your Apple III, you call Apple tech support on the phone, which in 1980 is a toll call, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're telling you to pick your computer up, and this is the $2,000 computer in 1980, I think 1981 or 82, when these came out, and they're telling you to drop your computer because the chips are coming off the board.
Oh.
You know. And to this day, there was never a true fix for it.
Wow.
You know, I mean, people would take fans and aim them at the back of their computers to try to get them to last, but there was just no ventilation because half the computer was under the keyboard.
Oh,
you know, they actually were using the case. The case itself was actually the heat sink. The bottom part of the case in the back was actually the heat sink for the computer, and there was no airflow and there wasn't enough of it.
Wow.
And we're running into the same problem nowadays, where, especially Greg's got you have a new iMac, right? A 17 iMac, or?
Well, I have a 17-inch or a 27-inch iMac that I run a fan control program on it. So, like right now, it's not doing too bad, and I forgot to ramp up the fans, but it's actually not bad at all right now, even though I'm streaming on it and doing all the video compression and stuff. So it's not doing bad.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, what is that thing's 3 inches thick, maybe, if that.
It's not even that thick, dude. It's probably 2 inches at the most.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's got a high power Core i7 processor in it.
Nope, it's got an i5 in it, believe it or not.
Or an i5, excuse me. I'm not too up with what everyone has, but still, and I mean, an i5 is still a hot running processor. I mean, I have i7s at work, and they run quite warm. So. Now I'm running a quad core, or a dual processor, dual core Xeon right now, my Pro, and it's running at 36 degrees.
Mm-hmm. They did a much better job on the thermal design on the Pros versus the iMac.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and eventually we're basically, Greg's basically got a laptop on a stick.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's a 27-inch laptop on a stick. So I mean,
I have more of a problem with my MacBook Pro because it's so thin.
Yeah.
And it's got an i5 in it too, but when you try to do anything that's processor intensive on it, the thermals get all the way up to 100 degrees. It gets to where it starts throttling. Okay.
Yeah.
Even in an i5. And then they came out with that i9. The new MacBook Pros came out with the i9, and they were having all kinds of throttle or problems with it. And I think I saw a video where Linus he tore open a MacBook Pro. He delidded the CPU, and he put liquid metal on it, and he put all the stuff back on, and it ran way cooler because the thermal compound, because Brock even mentioned here, says, that the main problem is cheap thermal paste they use. And that's exactly right, because a lot of people, in fact, I saw, who was it? Snazzy Labs did a video on the new iMac Mini, and he said that he did some tests on it where the thermal paste he did a test with the thermal paste that came with it, and it was running hot.
Yep.
And so then he replaced the thermal paste with Arctic Silver, I think is what he used on it. And it was running almost 10 degrees cooler and not throttling at all when it reached the max temperatures and stuff. So Brock is exactly right. They need to stop chincing on the thermal paste. They need to start using some good stuff.
Well, I agree with that 100%. I mean, considering I can sit there and buy for about $20 or less a huge 20-gram tube of Arctic MX4, and that stuff is phenomenal in contrast to any of the crap, Apple's used. And it's like, why not? So, yeah, that's completely ridiculous. Yeah, Jay, I like that. As Jay says, Apple doesn't care. As long as it lasts throughout Apple Care, they're happy. Yeah, they're not even lasting.
Well, I'm not one of the dumb ones. I say, to be honest with you, and we'll probably get off topic here, I don't buy Apple Care because I think it's a waste of money, to be honest with you, to add another year onto my 1 year.
Just sell it before the year's up.
Huh?
Well,
to be honest with you, every Mac I've owned has lasted. I mean, the one I'm actually looking at right now in front of me is a 2012. So that's a 6-year-old Mac right now, and it's still running perfect. I haven't had a problem with it,
Yeah.
But again, like Brock just said, every Mac you buy has dry, cracked thermal paste. Yeah, this 2012 probably has the dry, cracked thermal paste. But guess what? I can't get into this Mac easy to replace it because that was another topic we discussed before, the repairability. But we're not going to get into that. But they don't make it easy to replace that stuff. I mean, the only computers you can actually get into nowadays are the laptops that are easier to get into.
Yep, true. And I would have to agree with, and pardon me if I totally butcher your name there, Cyanir, hopefully. 2012 was the cutoff. In my opinion, that's the cutoff for good Macs. After that, you run into a plethora of issues. And prior to that, they're pretty, they were good machines, in my opinion, as well. Prior to, there's some that I don't like, but of course, 2011 is a disaster.
Well, again, we go back to this thing. Guess, when Steve Jobs died, 2011, after that, everything started kind of going downhill as far as quality of stuff, And to be honest with you, I mean, I wouldn't say that the thermal paste issue that we're talking about now was a problem back then. It's probably still a problem back then, but it's still a problem now. So
that's diabetes.
Oh, diabetes! We killed diabetes. I got killed by diabetes
on this call. He'd be a barrel of fun. Him in the boneyard. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we have to. That's his UT Gamer name, which we'll probably do a topic on that one of these times on our chat. So, anyways, back to Rocky.
Yeah, so now we'll move on. I think we've hammered through that, except we didn't really go over the one last little tidbit on the thermal application, but there's a lot of dead horses that got beat about this. So basically, is there such a thing as too much thermal paste? My stance on, as long as you get it tightened down properly, too much doesn't necessarily exist just for the fact of how it works, versus there is other viewpoints that you can have such a thing as too much. And that's the last of that discussion piece, if you guys want to tap in on that. Or
no, I'm good.
Okay, because we can always go back over it again. I know, what was it? There was at least a couple of us that were looking at possibly doing some testing that would be, a month long to kind of either prove or disprove, which would go along with some videos that have been done on Linus's channel, Gamer Nexus, and some other channels where they've gone in and actually done very short, brief testing with different amounts of thermal compound. We're actually looking at maybe doing a month-long, one of us in the group.
Yep.
Right. So we'll see how that turns out, and updates coming later. So, moving on.
Well, actually, we got a question here real quick. Does Apple have custom Intel CPUs? My iMac has an i6 630 in it. Intel says it has Intel HD graphics, but where is mine?
Actually,
the actual CPUs, I know for a fact, in my i7, my 2017 and my 2012, both have slotted or socketed CPUs that I can actually put in a CPU upgrade if I want to. Now, I think the 2013s, they soldered them in for a while until they came back out with I think it was 2016 or 17 when they started socketing them again.
Well, the 21s, they've always socketed starting in the year, I believe, 2012. When they went to the slimmer design, they were actually not socketed anymore. They were soldered on the 21-inch.
On the as of 2013, because my 2012 is socketed. It's not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 2013 is when they actually went to the soldered on the 21.5-inch iMacs. But the 27 inches are socketed, so you can actually replace it. In fact, I saw a video where a guy actually did upgrade his 27-inch from an i5 to an i7 with no problems.
Sweet. But you do have to be careful which one you pick, though, too.
Yes.
And then, and like Jay was saying on there, I was going to go back to that. What was it? That's the i3 630. That's probably 2010. And on those, they actually disabled the entire circuitry and whatnot that would enable that onboard GPU to function.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because they use I think they're using a ATI Radeon in that particular model, if I'm correct.
4350 is what I pulled out of the one that I had here.
Yeah,
and
which
yes,
is actually
Brian,
better than the Intel HD graphics, which is probably why they have the onboard graphics chip disabled. So,
Jay.
2011 iMac where he enabled integrated GPU though. Proof for
that's 7-inch with the i7 in it. Thank you very much. I just haven't been able to get back to that church and be able to validate it.
All right, we're ready for our next topic, Rocky?
Yes, we are. So, moving on, utilities, and this kind of segues straight from the thermal, because you know what? If your machine's not running fast, it could be that it's getting too warm, or it could be that it's just dirty. macOS gets dirty. I don't care what they say. You can leave. You can leave
a dirty word. Oh wait, that's Windows.
Oh no, you did not bring up Windows, did you?
Well, we were talking about dirty words. I said Windows.
Yeah, you get the barf symbol on you for a little bit.
There you go.
Hey, I'm sorry, I use Windows. Okay, it's a necessary evil.
We're gonna need the count.
But I use Windows 7, which is like the last good version of Windows.
Yeah.
After that, they all suck.
But back on point, we're getting into looking at the maintenance side of it because macOS doesn't always maintenance itself. It does a better job than other options, but it's not the best. So we've got our own personal favorites. What's your personal favorite that you use to kind of keep your Macs clean there, Greg?
I actually don't have anything I use on mine. I do all my own type of maintenance and stuff. I don't, to be honest with you, I don't like any utility that I don't know what it's going and doing. So I kind of do my own stuff when it comes to actual clean up and everything. I mean, especially there's that one, I forget which one it is. It's it's more of a virus than it is a utility. I can't remember the name of it though off the top of my head. You can help me out here.
Clean Your Mac, maybe?
No. Well, I see those ads all the time on Facebook where it's Clean Your Mac. And to be honest with you, I don't. To be myself personally, I don't really need them. I don't visit websites that are like, questionable. So it's not really like I'm gonna worried about getting a virus or anything. I don't even have antivirus on my computer, to be honest with you. Because one thing is antivirus basically slows down the computer when you're using it. And, to be honest with you, back in the good old Windows days, it was pretty bad because especially anything that you put on there would slow it down.
Yeah. Well, and there is one thing that I want to bring up. You said you don't use any tools. How do you maintain the caches and the temporary files and whatnot that Bitwell in macOS, they call them just caches. I don't think they call them anything like the temporary files, but they're all cache stores. There's a plethora of different caches, and granted, at least I would say somewhere in the ballpark of 70 to 90% of those stores can be refreshed, cleaned, whatever, using a terminal command. Granted, the list of terminal commands to actually do it is a nightmare. So how do you handle those? Because those do impact the operation of macOS.
Well, when it comes to, like, for instance, browser cache or anything like that, I just use the clean or dump the cache right out of the browser. I just do whatever the browser has there. I mean, I don't need to go either buy something or download something to do that for me,
Well,
because again, I don't know what else it's doing in the background.
and I'd agree with that point. That point is super valid. But something that I'm talking about, give me just a second here. I'm actually opening up one of the utilities, because I actually am a user of utilities for just for simplicity, because it makes my life easier. I've actually been one of those people to go in and type the commands manually for this. But there's certain maintenance tasks that macOS does perform on itself. It's supposed to do it when it's in sleep mode, when you're not using it. And it does a task daily. It does a task, I believe, weekly and monthly, if I remember correctly. And things like doing what they're called as maintenance scripts. Of course, they're not listing all of them here in this particular program. Onyx, I think, actually lists them. But you've got those maintenance scripts, and that's just macOS itself. And there are, here we go, the cleaning caches, the system cache, the user cache, fonts cache. You got your logs, including the diagnostic reports. You have your automatic save versions of documents, the application states, stuff like that. And there are commands for a lot of this, but how do you address it, or do you just kind of just let it build up until you wind up having to reload macOS?
I've never actually had to reload macOS, to be honest with you. I ran this 2012 for probably good 5 years before I kind of sort of decommissioned it. I was going to sell it, and then nobody wanted to buy it, so I finally said, "Oh, I'll keep it." So I had reloaded a fresh copy of High Sierra on it at the time, but that was the first time I ever reloaded it on here. I mean, for 5 years, I never had a problem with it. It never slowed down. Unlike a operating system who we will not name here, where you had to do that almost yearly because it just got so bad that you had to do it. I mean, to be honest with you, Mac OS, even with me updating yearly with each new version, I've never had a problem with it.
Yeah, you've been one of the lucky few on that one. But do you run your Mac? And this is another thing, because
That's it, Mac Keeper. That's the one. Brock,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
That is the virus.
Yeah. So do you then leave your Macs on 24/7 and allow them to go into sleep mode?
The 2012 one, I do. It goes into sleep mode and stuff like that because I use it as that's my one that has my Time Machine disk on it. So I have everything linked into that. My 2017, as you know, I boot between Boot Camp and OS X because I do play my racing games on it and stuff, which work only under the operating system we shall not name. I don't want to put the puke emoji up there. So, but anyways, I boot between the two, so it's actually off and on between the two operating systems all the time. So it gets rebooted constantly.
Okay.
The two you see behind me, I have a G5 on this side. It stays on at night most of the time. I turn it off when I'm gone during the day because, of course, the power consumption on them. But that's actually my iTunes server. So it actually runs for my iTunes library server so I can see it on my Apple TV, my iPad, whatever I want to see it on. And then the other one on the other side over here, which I don't know if you can see, is iMac G4. which basically is my play computer. I just use it to play around with OS Tiger on it. So, it's just something I play around with, and I play some classic games on it and stuff like that. But none of these computers I have ever had to use a cleaner or anything like that on it. But the two behind me don't stay on all the time. So
Okay. Now the question is, how do you manage that, Mike?
I'm kind of like Greg. I just let the computer do its thing. I don't do anything. I don't know. 30 years, I've never had any problems. You know, I mean, even in the pre-OS 10 days, or the dark ages, as some people call it.
Oh, that one. Love that.
I have never run an antivirus program on a Macintosh in my life. I've never found a need to. Yes, viruses are out there and they're more prevalent than they used to be, but truthfully, if you're going to write a virus to attack something, you're going to write it to attack 90% of the computers out there, not the 5%. You're not going to, go after the crazy people. So, now my PC, on the other hand, that sucker's locked down like you wouldn't believe. I mean, same thing with my computers at work. I mean, they're locked down like crazy, and you have to give a DNA sample just to be able to log into one of them, for crying out loud. So, but I've never used anything. I don't trust them. I mean, even on the quote unquote non-Mac side, I don't trust these programs because I've run into a lot of programs that just do more harm than good. Over the they might help do one thing, but they're going to do 5 other things you don't want them to.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, exactly, and that's I agree with Mike on that. I mean, under that other operating system, you actually have to run stuff to keep the viruses and all that other malware and crap off it. Because, to be honest with you, we're in a
Jason,
very minority when it comes to Macs, because, to be honest with you, they do now. I'm not going to say that there are no viruses for Macs, because that's just stupid thinking.
well, technically it depends on how you define it, because technically in the true definition of what a virus is on a computer, there is 0 to none produced for Mac. Now, because of the nature of how they work, but malware, malicious software in general, there is plenty of it for the Mac. It's just we encountered ourselves. So.
Oh yeah. And yeah, Jay just said disagree on the antivirus. Maybe a topic for next week. Yeah, maybe we could talk about the different antiviruses and stuff. And
that's good. But I'm sorry, I interjected that there, and I'm sorry.
Diabetes. Best antivirus for PCs: the power switch in the 0 position. That's a good one. I like that. All right, so I think we beat this dead horse, unless somebody else has anything they want to bring in.
I personally don't. I don't see a whole lot there going on in chat. I do see that, there's mentions of names of different programs, and we can mention a few of those. Clean My Mac X, to me personally, that's a waste of money. If you're paying them for Clean My Mac, you're wasting your money. You can get for free a program called Maintenance, which is the successor to the earlier versions of Onyx, not the current version of Onyx. The current version of Onyx is a potentially harmful tool. Maintenance is a very simple tool, and it does a very good job. I believe it is on one of those sites promoted by everymac.com. Can't remember which one. They recommend.
I almost forgot about this, and this is something that kind of important. When I bought my first Mac, it was a MacBook Air. I know Jay is going to do that, but it was a MacBook Air. That's how I got into Macintosh computers. And when I bought the thing, I bought it from Best Buy, of course, and it came with an antivirus program from Norton.
Ugh.
Yeah. I made the mistake of installing that. Guess what? It was impossible to get rid of because it slowed down the computer so much. I mean, it was just like using it on Windows. It slowed it down so much that it made it unusable. So I had to find a way to get rid of it. So the best way to get rid of it was to reboot or reinstall my system.
Yep. Sad but
from
true.
scratch. Yeah.
And there are a few other cleaners out there. I believe CCleaner made one. Let's see. Can't remember the other one. Oh, Mac Janitor, which is not necessarily maintained anymore, if I remember correctly. Still works for the old Macs. I've actually looked at the code inside Mac Janitor. That one's pretty clean.
Yeah.
There's some other ones. And I agree with that, not trusting the code. I prefer to open up the code and take a look myself. But that's, yeah, I agree. So, I mean, we're done with that. Moving on. Do we want to go ahead and talk about the Magic Mouse? And
Sure. That's going to be a quick topic, I think.
Told me not to say that word, so I'm going to call it what's it now.
Well, I actually have one sitting right here, so we can look at it. But this is what comes with the new Macs now. And as you can see, there's no battery cover anymore. So basically, you have this little charge port, which is right here on the bottom. To me, that was the stupidest design of this thing. Now, granted, and Jay will disagree with me on this, that yes, I charge it when I need to charge it. And if it comes up says it's low battery, then I plug it in for about 5 minutes and it's good for about a couple of hours. Not a big deal. Okay, a lot of people complain about it. However, on my other Mac, I have one of these, and it's a little battery case. I actually got this from the Apple Store, believe it or not. And it's a wireless battery, rechargeable battery that I place on a little pad by my computer, and it recharges the battery for me. I don't ever have to worry about it. Much easier because I just set it on the pad and I forget about it. This thing, however, you actually have to plug in a cable. You have to physically take a lightning cable and plug into the thing. Yeah, exactly. So you actually have to plug one of those into this thing in order for it to charge. Now, the charge does last for a couple of months. So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just not, to me, it's just not a good design.
Well, and it doesn't go with their keyboard, because the same keyboard that they put out, which is similar, it's got its own little dongle, plug-in. We'll call it a dongle.
Talking about this one?
Yep. That keyboard I actually like, because I mean, like, you use it on your your 17-inch because it can connect it to it, all that good stuff.
Well, I don't use it on. I use it on my G4 back here.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, your 17-inch. So it works. I mean, that was a great design. They did a good job with it. Why did they screw up the mouse? And anybody that says it's because of the placement of the crap inside, whatever, go look up the iFixit where they tear the thing apart or whatever it was that did it. You look at that, the internals in it, and I've tore one apart for cleaning. The internals on that thing, there's more than enough room and space in the design. They could have actually given it a plug on the front of the mouse, just like they have on the keyboard, and it could have done the same thing, and it would have been phenomenally better than this design of giving your mouse a wiener.
Well, here's the thing, and this is my opinion on it. They came out with the iPhone with the wireless charging. They have the iPods supposedly coming out. I don't know if they ever are with the Air charge, with that Air charge thing they're supposed to have. They haven't done it yet. So don't know if that's ever going to come out. What was that called? Air Power, I think is what they said. It was 2 years ago almost. It was supposed to come out.
I don't know.
Well, anyways, why couldn't they come out with something like Moby did already, with something that's rechargeable? You just set it on a pad, a Q pad, and it charges for you.
That makes sense. They should have.
Yeah, that would be a whole lot better. I mean, putting some wireless charging technology in there would be a whole lot better. I mean, the keyboard, I can understand having a lightning connector because the keyboard doesn't move around a lot. I mean, you're sitting it right in front of your computer, and actually you could keep the keyboard wired to your computer all the time because I do that on my iMac G4.
I think Jay doesn't have a voice in this because he's not on here. He can't say it's a non-issue to not have the dongle on your mouse.
Well, the port on the bottom is a non-issue. Yes, I agree with that, Jay.
I don't.
But then I kind of disagree because it's kind of like it doesn't bother me because now when I charge, I have to set my mouse on the side and plug it in. But you have to remember to plug it in at night. That's the problem. And to have something that like this where I can just set it on a pad and forget about it and have it charge overnight, then I get up in the next day and guess what? I got a fully charged mouse. Boom.
Yep. Hey, there you go. I like that.
Or when mine dies, I just put a couple AA batteries in it once a year.
There you go.
Good.
Well,
everybody complains about the Mighty Mouse, and I hate to say it, but for Mac mice, this is probably one of the nicest ones I've used. This is the Bluetooth one. I have a wired one on my iMac G3, but everybody complains about them, but I've never had problems with them. Now,
well, Jay says his scroll wheel doesn't work on his. I remember him telling me that.
Yeah, apparently that's like the biggest problem. Now, I guess I've been lucky and all of mine work fine. But I mean, this mouse, I mean, I've had no issues with it. And trust me, it gets beat up pretty hard. I got a 2 and a 7-year-old niece that comes over, and the first thing they love to do is play with my mouse.
Yeah.
So, I found it under furniture and everywhere else, and it still works just fine.
Yeah. Now, see, here's something that just popped in my head, and I was watching a video by Engineering Explained today, and he was reviewing a car, or whatever, and he brought up a very valid point about electric cars and technology in general. And he said, and I agree with him 100%, is that technology should make it easier and not necessarily harder or whatever. Well, hold on. If you're sitting there putting a very inconvenient charge place, connector on a wireless mouse, which is more of a pain in the ass than just swapping a couple rechargeable batteries, which is what I use on mine. And, you're making the process more of a pain in the ass. You're not making it simpler. You're not making it easier. Then you're not for technology, because technology should advance it and make it simpler.
And I agree. And that's what my biggest problem with the Magic Mouse. Now, the other issue I have with the Magic Mouse is the ergonomics of it. Okay. On my iMac 27-inch, I use a Logitech mouse. Okay.
So do I.
And the reason why is because it's ergonomic. Exactly.
Good Lord, how many damn buttons do you have, boy?
It's a wow mouse.
Yeah. So, I mean, this mouse is just too thin, and my hand actually starts hurting after a while if I use it for a very long time. My MacBook Pro, I have one from a MacBook Pro, and I'd rather use the trackpad sometimes because the trackpad just feels a little bit better than using the mouse. So, I mean, the ergonomics of it is bad too. I mean, that's just another issue. It looks pretty, and I love the touch design. With being able to touch the right or left side. You got two different sides of the mouse to click on. I love that design feature, and the touch anywhere on it. To scroll forward, backward, or side to side. I like that idea of it, but they need to make it a little more ergonomic than what it is. It's just.
And if we had Jay on here, he would be discussing the point which brings up from his favorite mouse, the Puck mouse. You're welcome, Jay. I'm keeping you involved in here, even though you're not here. He brought up a point that those mice, and Apple's not really ever had an ergonomic mouse except the teardrop ones. They're fingertip mice. His Puck. Jay discussed that when last time we were talking about this. That it was, it's a fingertip mouse. And if you use it in that way, it is ergonomic or comfortable for the user. Of course, I don't use mice that way. I like to cup it and feel it. That sounded very dirty. If you use also the unergonomic, more, later renditions of the mouse, which I did. I mean, when I used a Magic Mouse, it actually, I used it in that way. It was a fingertip. I didn't really have my hand on it, but I didn't use it for my gaming. I didn't use it heavily for anything other than just I'm quickly getting on this machine or ripping it out of my bag because I need to use I mainly used my Magic Mice laptops because they were more convenient to carry. And it was very simple. I'd pull it out, sit on the desk, run it around, do its thing, put it back in the bag. So I see the point that Jay had with that. Unfortunately, he's not here to defend his point.
Well, he's in the chat.
Doesn't count. I'm going to keep teasing him about that. He's going to be the man of mystery. We'll call him that next week.
Oh, yeah.
And Greg's just not here at all. Where's Retke anyway?
I don't know.
He has some personal issues he had to take care of.
Okay.
So he had a valid.
So do we?
But
you're
saying Apple doesn't have any ergonomic mice. Now, my Mighty Mouse seems plenty ergonomic. It seems almost as good as a teardrop, to be honest with you.
Let me see if I've got one here. I had one. What's this? Oh, I do. Now, see, mine. It's got its little connector.
I have one with a tail too.
Yeah, this.
Oh, I have one of those. Well, not the Mighty Mouse one, but I have the one with just the button. There's no scroll wheel on it. The old
the Pro Mouse.
Yeah,
I have them too. They're good, except for the fact that I don't know. I have arthritis in my hand, so I have a tendency to kind of twitch sometimes, and I click a lot more than I should with
now,
those.
I'd have two more of them with two more keyboards if somebody would actually let me get them. We won't mention names here, Jay.
He who shall not be named in this. No. This mouse, the Mac Pro one. This one.
Yep. I've got that. In fact, that same color one.
Yep. I have one of those in black, and I have one in white actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's actually got a good point on there. Touchpads. We should actually talk a little bit about that. I mean, I don't have any for my desktops at all. I to be honest with you, a desktop and a trackpad are two things that I don't think should go together. A laptop, however, is perfectly fine to have a trackpad. To be honest, that's my opinion.
I agree with you, and this comes from experience. I used to have an Alps Touchpoint on my workgroup server 8550, and yeah, it sucks really. So it's and trackballs. I know they're dead now, but trackballs weren't all that great either.
Oh, I love my trackballs.
I actually used to have one when I worked a long time ago. It was a Logitech trackball, and it was the thumb one where you do the thumb and you had your finger, and it was so ergonomic. You just lay your hand right there, and you just.
Oh, now that one there is a little different. Now that one there was actually good.
Yes. Yeah.
But I'm talking like your normal desktop cube, pool ball type trackball.
Oh yeah,
so especially the ones that like Kensington used to make.
Well, it depends on which one you're talking about because there's a couple different trackball designs. You've got do I have it with me here somewhere?
We used to call them the cue ball because it looks like a big white cube. It looks like a big cue ball for a pool table.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
cue balls.
Yeah, because it comes in a big thing and it's like right in the middle, and you gotta. It's like you ever play Missile Command?
I've never had.
No, that's right.
That's actually where they got the idea is from arcades.
Yeah. Yep. I know which one.
Missile Command had that ball, that track ball that you went around and you just press buttons to fire, but it's the same principle.
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about. I've never owned one personally, so I can't comment on that.
You're not missing much. Take it from somebody. Now the one like Greg was just talking about, the Logitech, where you had the thumb, where you had the buttons with your fingers, and then you had the trackball controlled by your thumb.
Yeah.
That one was nice. Plus, they also made one, which unfortunately I never got, but I really wanted one. They also made one just like that, Greg, that was also a mouse.
Oh, cool.
That you could just tap a button on it, and you could use it as either a trackball or a mouse.
Really? So it had a laser on the bottom?
Well, actually, it was a ball mouse. We're talking late 90s.
Okay.
Maybe early 2000s.
The one I had, the thumb one that I was talking about, had laser. It was a laser. It wasn't one that had the little rollers in it and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you must have had a later one.
Was it the wireless one? Because I've got two.
No, it was wired. It was wired.
Oh, okay.
But you didn't mind if it was wired because guess what? It didn't move around on your desk. It just sat in one place.
Well, when you work in an office, like I did at the time when I bought two of those for $50 a pop. I liked it being wireless because my keyboard was one of those that was under the desk, and moving that forth. If I didn't have a wireless keyboard or mouse, those stupid cords would get bound up for no stupid reason. It was a terrible desk. So and plus then I can move it on top of the desk if I wanted to and stuff, and it made life easier for me. But That was just in that era, a few years ago, whatever.
Oh, there we go. Jay brought up. He says nothing beats the puck.
Of course he. Mr. J, who somebody needs to get on there and start playing our PowerPC gaming group and knock him down a few pegs, because right now he's the reigning champion.
Yeah, none of us can beat him. I mean, we get a couple of kills on him, but we don't beat him.
Well, it's because he's running the server. He's got a direct, gigabit line right to the server, so of course he's faster than us. I think he's cheating too.
I think he is too. I think he's set up all his things that he gets like the unlimited ammo. He says he runs out of ammo, but usually when I see him, he's still shooting.
Yeah, it's usually a redeemer coming right at my head.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
I got pictures to prove it.
Oh, we're getting way off topic here. So
yeah,
So
there was a lot of magic and a lot less mice, but hey, that's what we are. We're the MacYak. We're not like Gamers Nexus or any of those other groups that actually sit there with a script to try to figure out what they're doing off the script. So
no, this is just basically off the cuff. We just talk about what you guys want us to talk about. We come up with topics over the week, like starting after tonight. We'll come up with some new topics. But here's a question for you guys: if you want us to come up with some newer topics or topics you want to hear about, let us know in the comments section.
yes, please do. Yeah, definitely. Because we're only 5 of us, and
5 of us, yeah.
And we all have different day jobs, and we can only do so much, and we don't know what you guys necessarily always want to hear about. I mean, maybe you want to find out, okay, well, how do you do this? Or, discuss this because I'm curious about it, do you set your Mac on fire when you turn it on?
No, but I run my Mac Pro with a Bluetooth speaker holding in a hard drive.
Hey, there you go.
And the cover off because I can't close it right now.
Hey, you should have seen Jay's raid.
Oh, yeah.
I did.
He had zip ties holding it together.
Yeah.
I think he still does.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, and see, they could come up with these wonderful topics for us. They could ask us to, have Jay power up a G5 and run it with his. He's got one of those those inline testers, doesn't he? I think to display the power.
The wattage, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have one of those yet. I plan to get one.
And I could run mine and to tell people that myth of it sounding like a jet engine, because guess what? It's actually running in the background right now, and I can barely hear it because the fans do not run like people say they run. So that's another thing. But
I think that's an LCS G5 problem more than anything.
Nah, I had a 2.5 dual, and it never was a loud beast.
Yeah, but was that before or after you rebuilt the LCS?
After I rebuilt the LCS, it hasn't ran since because I screwed up the processors.
Well, the problem, Mike, and we're getting...
Congratulations.
Here's another topic that we could talk about a little bit, I guess, is the problem with that is people don't get the Apple service disk and recalibrate the fans.
Well, yeah, that's
anytime you pull the processors out of a G5, you have to recalibrate the fans. Otherwise, it's going to run at full, velocity on the fans, and it's going to sound like a jet engine.
Well, the other thing too is,
go ahead.
Something else I've noticed with a lot of G5 machines, just getting the machines from recyclers and stuff, the plastic air deflectors are missing on quite a few of them.
And they won't run without that unless you put a little something in the...
No, they will. They will run.
They will, but that will be at full throttle. Because
exactly. That's the thing. The fans automatically kick up to 100%.
Well, that's because there's a little tab. If you ever look at that air deflector, the far right tab is white.
Yep.
Because there's a little sensor right there that detects if it's in the tab or not. And if there's nothing there, the fans go boom, full blast because it doesn't think it has a cover on the side.
Yeah, now, it also trips an error light on the logic board as well.
Yes, it does.
If you've ever worked on a G5 while it's running, you'll see a little red light flash on and off.
Oh yeah, I know. I've done it.
Air deflector on and off. But
yeah. So we've got a couple questions popping up in chat. Will Apple have a guide to clean the dust out of an iMac? I think that's an easy question. No.
That'd be an easy answer. No.
Apple would rather you not clean it and let it die than to actually give you the availability to clean it. Because, I mean, obviously, by how they design it, I think that's an unfortunate. I mean, at least in my opinion. I mean, if they're going to glue it down, yeah, that's not making it user serviceable and maintainable.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they pretty much glue everything down, especially the iMacs. The iMacs are the most user serviceable things that they've ever made. If you ever go to iFixit.com and look at some of their teardowns on the iMac, it's a long script just to tear down an iMac because you have to remove the screen and the screen is glued on.
Yep. And it ain't glued on by little glue. You got to actually sit there. Last time I removed one, I used a heat gun to warm it up, and then I went in with my little spudger tool and just worked across every inch of that display until I got to the bottom, which you really can't spudger. And then you got to pull it off slowly. And once you get to a certain point, you got to take out the cables, and then you got to remove it slowly again. That sucker is not light. It's a pain. It's an unholy nightmare to remove the screen.
Ask Linus what happened to when he tried to remove a screen.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect example.
On his iMac Pro.
Yeah, well, getting into the
another
iMac
question
is
here.
as bad as getting into an iPad or an iPhone now.
Ooh.
Actually, I think they're more serviceable than the iMacs are.
Actually, no. The iPads are glued in, so you can't even unscrew them to even get into it. You actually have to pretty much heat it up, hope the glue melts enough so you can actually pull it off, because the iPads are worse. They are almost unrepairable.
Yeah.
They made them pretty much unuser serviceable. We got another question here. Neo B says, do you think it was a mistake to get a Fusion Drive iMac? I can answer that, actually, because I have one sitting here, and no, to be honest with you. You got to remember, the Fusion Drive iMac is basically, it's got two hard drives in it. It's got a SSD, which has the operating system on it, and it has a regular spinner disk, which is pretty fast already. I mean, it's not a problem. The system actually sees both of those as one disk, okay? So you won't even notice the difference between the two, and you don't know that you're actually using it or not, but it puts the operating system on there, and my Fusion Drive one boots up so quick. I mean, it's like, I think it's about 10 seconds, and it's up and running. You know, from the time I hit the power button, from the time the Apple screen comes up to the time it actually shows the menu bar, it's about like 10 seconds.
Yeah, which would be about like a regular SSD Mac of that era. So, I mean, that's, yeah. And from my understanding, the Fusion Drive is, and I've built only one in a 2011 model, and it was, I mean, basically it just converts it into an SSHD, which Intel's been doing since their second, I believe, at least their second gen iSeries. So I believe it's built on that Intel hybriding, architecture, which works really well. I don't see any problem with it. I would recommend it if you want more storage for a lower cost, but anymore, you can buy, what, a 1 terabyte now? I bought that 1 terabyte SSD for, $130 or whatever, and it was a nice Samsung Evo. So, which, by the way, go to Amazon and buy one if you want one. While the prices are still good. I don't have any more topics. Is there any more out there on there? You guys think?
Let's see. I'm reading some of the comments here. I wanted to upgrade my 2012, but I didn't want to open it. Yeah, I've got the same one as you, Neo. The one I'm actually reading the comments on is a 2012 iMac, and I am planning on actually using this as an experimental machine. I'm going to do some videos on this one when I actually get enough courage to actually do it, but I'm going to do some modifications to this system. In fact, Rocky, myself, and Jay have talked about it, because what I want to try to do with this system is I want to try to go back to a magnetic type of display closure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up. I'm going to see how to mount some of these magnets that are really, really strong magnets in the back of it. to actually where I can actually open it up and clean it anytime I want to. And then I'm going to basically publish a video about it, and we'll see, how if people like that or not. I mean, but there's got to be a way to do it because they did it before. They had magnets on it before, but they didn't have the panel fused to the glass before like they do now. Because remember, before the glass was separate from the
2010.
Yeah, you actually have one, but the glass was actually separate from the LCD display, and a lot of times, if it would get the dust and dirt behind it. Yeah, see right there, and that's one with the magnets on it. So,
whoops. Okay.
Whoa! Don't drop it.
There.
Hello, dudes.
Pop out.
There we go. We have Jay.
Pops in, and I'm going to be right back. Actually, so
okay. But
yeah, I'm here because Rocky keeps talking smack about me not being here. So.
Yeah, I'm going to actually do a video series on my experiments with my 2012 and getting a better enclosure on it. So hopefully it turns out pretty good, but we're going to see. Jay, you got anything on this subject?
What is the subject? I missed the last 10 minutes because my kid woke up. So.
There is.
I think I heard Rocky.
We're talking about the iMacs and opening them up. Neo brought up a question. He wanted to upgrade his 2012, but he doesn't want to open it. And I told him, I said, I have the same exact iMac, the 2012, and it's a pain in the butt, but I'm going to do some experiments on trying to get it to where it's easier to open it when I want to clean it.
Oh, well, I'll show you how I do it.
Yeah. He does it how would you say, the redneck engineering way?
Hammer?
No. I cut the... Let me see if I can show this without giving all my wife's trade secrets away here. I cut the adhesive, I take the screen off, and I clean it, and then I just put it back with painter's tape.
Okay.
Tape all around so the dust doesn't get sucked in. And it doesn't look pretty, but you know what? I can clean this thing anytime I want, and it doesn't cost me $20 in adhesive strips. So it gets the job done.
Yeah, but it doesn't look pretty.
Absolutely not. No.
I hate you wouldn't do that. My computers really look all that pretty. I mean, my Pro's got all kinds of gouges and scratches on it, and I got a hard drive being held in with a freaking box, and another one being edged in there with a wad of paper. I got a memory riser that likes to come and go as it pleases. So I mean, it's just
Well, I think Jay has zip strips on his RAID, don't you?
Yes. Well, hey.
That was the broken one, though, wasn't it?
The broken one, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Hey, it works though, doesn't it? You have them both in the rack.
Yeah, I got them both in the rack now.
Oh.
It's all hooked up. I got the Mac Pro back there as the controller. I even hooked it up to the gigabit switch with fiber. I haven't tested yet if that works. This weekend I hope to do some experimenting. But yeah, this zip tie is here to stay because that part of the frame is still warped.
But it works.
Brought it back from what it was, which everybody needs to go see that on his channel. Holy
I'm going to say, that thing was dead, or should have been dead.
I still have to put that controller card in the newer one to see if I can force a firmware upgrade. If that doesn't work, it's going to remain dead.
I like diabetes. Crap, Jay, gets Redeemer.
Hey, maybe after the stream. Who knows?
All right, I got another question for Neo. Have you guys heard of Matrox Triple Head to Go? I haven't.
I haven't heard of the Triple Head to Go, but I know Matrox as a video card brand.
I didn't even know Matrox was still around.
Yeah, I thought they went under too. To be honest,
I didn't think they went under. I thought they got absorbed by somebody. Matrox, oh my God! Back in the '90s, they used to make some of the highest end video cards you could buy. They were awesome cards too, but
They still did for a while. Back up into 2006, 2007, they were one of the first with their Prometheus to have the triple video stereo display before, I think, before NVIDIA.
Diabetes says that Matrox is still around.
Huh.
David says, so is this a hack, or so is it a hack or is it a Boj segment? No, this is just us running out of stuff to talk about because we're going to probably cut the stream here in a few minutes if we feel like not talking anymore.
Yeah, but we couldn't just not wait until the infamous Jay got back on.
Yeah.
What? I didn't even hear you, Jay.
Why is my mic muted? Damn.
No, you're not muted.
Okay.
No.
On last week's subject, or the week before, how many have we done so far? This is the third, right?
one. Third one.
About repairability and stuff.
Ah.
Oh,
Yeah, everybody, you need to actually, I think there's a petition out or something like that, and go to that website and help out. Because we need to be able to repair our own stuff.
Get your merchandise, do whatever you need to do to support them if you're into that kind of thing.
which, shoot, if we get enough support on here, we'll start making some Mac Yak merch. That'd be fun.
Oh man, that yak looks so stupid. I would love to have that on a cap or something.
By the way, Jay is the developer of the Mac Yak symbol, so
yes, he is.
He just looks so. He reminds me of a friend I used to have. He just the sweetest guy you ever meet, but he just looks so stupid. And the yak kind of reminds me of him.
oh Lord,
I can't find my headphones.
Why are you looking for your headphones?
Because my audio is pretty low. Because everybody's sleeping.
Yep.
Oh, you have to remember he has kids, so.
Kids, hey, I got one. Hold up. One is enough for now.
So, guys, do we have any other issues or topics we want to talk about before I wrap this up?
Hey, you know what? I think we should also see if everybody would like to do a competition on here, maybe. Maybe get all 5 of us or 3 or 4 of us out of the group involved in some type of competition. See if
what kind of competition?
Well, I mean, it's obviously got to be within reason. I mean, I don't want to sit there and blow money on trying to come up with something. But
oh man, I was
find out
what's in it for me.
Mac? Well, that's me. I win.
Well, I'd like to see just what they could come up with. I mean,
well, the problem is I think Greg Rutke would probably win this because he's got so many old Macs sitting in his dining room.
Well, that's true. He's got a desk lamp without the lamp.
That is true.
So I think he would win the crappiest Mac competition there.
Well, that would probably be Rutke too.
Actually, I think I stand a chance with my Raid.
No,
that's not a Mac. That's
pretty good compared to some of. You've seen Greg's computers?
Oh yeah.
See, we could talk about it because he's not here.
Exactly. I'm aware of some of his less successful experiments.
Well,
the world's fastest.
You're pretty good with the less successful experiments as well, aren't you?
But to give Greg
how many MDDs on fire?
To give Greg credit, though, he does try to do stuff that nobody's ever thought of before, which is pretty cool, I think.
Oh, true. I mean, that's why I like watching his stuff.
I do, too.
And if it somehow fails, it will end up on my shelf where I am then instructed, hey, Jay, fix it.
Or you could have Jay try to overclock the CPU and burn it up, right?
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I've been there, done that about 100 times already.
We know you have.
Yeah. No, I think a competition would be fun.
Yeah.
I think we should all try to liquid cool our primary Mac.
That's not going to happen for me.
I was going to say,
I don't think I could liquid cool mine. I don't think there's enough room.
Well,
Yeah, I don't think there's enough room for a liquid cooler inside my iMac.
Oh, there is in the Pro. Oh yeah.
No, you can put your screen on standoffs, like make it come out about 10 inches. Fit it in there.
All right, watch it. You're going to make Mike die here laughing.
I don't know. I think there's plenty of really stupid ideas out there that are doomed to fail, but I would love to try them all.
Oh yeah. And it might be fun for a Christmas episode. When is Christmas this year? Is it going to fall on a Thursday? Do we get
I will be out of town during
Nah,
Christmas.
if it is, I won't be here.
I won't be here, so we won't be streaming during the Christmas holidays for about probably Christmas and maybe New Year's, roughly around that time. So we won't be streaming around that. We will be back next Thursday. What is next Thursday? The
13th.
13th. Yeah, I couldn't. My math is not good right now.
And I might not be here because today was my wife's birthday. Next week is my kid's birthday. So
Well, birthday. Holy crap, why didn't you mention that sooner?
We should all sing happy birthday to her right now.
Oh, that would be great. I don't remember hearing about it, but okay.
Yeah. We should all sing happy birthday.
Is she still awake or is she laying down?
No, she fell asleep just now.
Oh, see, we should sing it and then you could play this back for her later.
That's true. That's true.
Go.
I'll leave you guys to it.
Yeah, you're not gonna. No, you gotta.
I don't sing that well.
Yeah.
So one thing we got to our viewers out there is, if you have a iOS or a Mac capable of doing group FaceTime, we would love to have a guest on here and get your opinions. This is for you guys. We're doing this to help you guys out, to pass on what little knowledge we might have to you guys, and vice versa. Well, Jay has all the knowledge. I don't.
Yeah. Okay. No pressure. I'll slide it back to Mike and Rutger.
As long as it has a Mac OS 9 or older on it.
Now, I would have to say, Jay is the man, especially when it comes to the micro side of things and the board level. I've got my own level of, knowledge on there. I think that's what makes our group a good group.
So unique.
You've got a varying degree of knowledge, a varying degree of experience and expertise.
Between the four of us, we know everything.
Exactly, man. The all-knowing yak. We should rename the channel.
So, like I said, if you guys want to come join us, we actually want to try one day to max out the 32 users on group FaceTime. I think we've gotten up to 7 maybe at the most, or 8?
8, yeah.
8 at the most. So we want to see if Apple is correct that 32 people at one time doesn't destroy, FaceTime.
Hey, they crash their servers.
And even with just 4 or 5 people, Rutger's phone feels like it's about to pop.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what you guys are seeing on the stream here is group FaceTime on my iMac. So that's actually on Mojave, what you're seeing right there. I'm actually talking to you coming off an iPad. So it looks totally different as far as the screen layout and everything than what you see on the stream here. Jay is actually using his phone.
Yep.
I think, Rocky, you're using your phone, and I think, Mike, you're using the phone too?
No, I'm using my iPad Pro.
Okay, so you're using an iPad also.
Fancy.
So,
yeah.
We're all using different devices to do the FaceTime, and we want to experiment a lot more with it. In fact, I think we were the first group to actually go live, I think, on streaming it.
Yes.
As far as group FaceTime, I haven't seen anybody else do it yet. At least I haven't seen any videos out there.
I've seen people record group FaceTime, like calling themselves when it was still in beta and all that, but certainly not with as many people as we're doing, and absolutely no streaming. So
yeah. And this is live. I mean, this is not Memorex. We are live.
Yep. If I fart right now, y'all hear it.
Seconds later, you'll hear it.
There is no doubt Greg and Jay spent the time to figure out and hammer out what it takes to actually get this to stream to YouTube. I mean, recording it is one thing.
Oh,
Streaming it to YouTube.
yeah. Okay. Let me show you how I have to do this. Okay. I picked up my iPad here. I'm on my iPad here. I'm going to flip it around and show you how I have to actually do this streaming process here. Okay. So this is flipped around. So this over here is my iMac 2017, which is what you guys are all seeing. It's actually running Wirecast in the background over on that monitor. That's actually on the same iMac. So that's what's actually doing the stream over to YouTube. Now, what I'm using in the middle here is my 2012 iMac to actually watch the chat and everything and make sure that the video looks good and everything else. So that's what I'm using over here, but I'm using my iPad to actually do...
Yeah, and that glowing red thing in the background, that's his fuse box.
So I have all three of these systems, or two systems actually is what I'm, or actually three if you count the iPad, is what I'm using to do the stream, because that's the only way to do it. Because Apple, in its infinite wisdom, I could probably use the same screen. However, I can't stream in windowed mode because the way Apple did FaceTime, they don't let you stream anything as a window. It has to be full screen for me to do that. So that's why I have to do it that way.
Yeah, I definitely didn't go as far as Greg is doing. I tried a few different applications. Finally found one that worked. We actually started experimenting with streaming to our own internal networks, streaming over our own networks to another computer. And once we figured that out, ooh, it's snowing, nice. Once we figured that out, Greg started trying to stream it to his Twitch and all that. It certainly took a few days of doing.
Yeah, it took us a while to figure it out.
Yeah, but then we had the proud moment of being the first group FaceTime stream online, and it was all worth it.
And we figured, hey, let's start up a channel here and let's talk. Because when we figured this out about group FaceTime, I think we spent more talking to all four of us or five of us on this group FaceTime, talking about stuff like we're talking about now. And we said, let's do this live in front of people because we're talking about a lot of stuff people might be interested in.
Yeah, we figured out we're doing it anyway. Let's get some viewers in here and some live commentary and questions to make it even more fun.
Exactly. But we do want to get some guests on here. So we definitely, if you want to be a guest on here, go ahead and leave in the comments there, and we'll contact you, and we'll figure out when the best date is for you to do that. Especially if you're an expert in a certain area, and if you are, let us know, and we'll put that as a topic.
Yeah, because it's Mac Yak. We're not the only ones that can yak. If you have something to yak about, come do it.
Yep. And I will, let's see, Neo B and Brock, I see that you both are possibly interested in that. And if need be, I can put my company general help desk email in the chats or whatever so that you guys can contact my email if that would work better than something within the YouTube client. But I'm not for sure how that would work out. Just let me know that, or because I don't want to spam my Facebook information on here, but I'm perfectly fine with somebody spamming my company help desk email.
Well, I'm not saying this will happen, but just to throw it out there, if we're getting a ton of questions, more people involved, it might be worth it to set up an email address for the Mac Yak so that people can submit stuff.
You actually got a good point there, Jay, and that might be something we need to do.
I can set that up on my domain. I've got plenty of free accounts still available.
Yeah, but the place you host it is kind of,
Eh.
That big starts with a
Are
G.
you so worried about that for security in regards to this?
No, I hate giving that company money. Any way I can deprive them of the 5 cents they'll make, I'll
They're not
do it.
making anything on that because I'm already paying them the $10 a year. So
Oh God, you paid them! Oh, we're talking about Google, by the way, folks.
No.
And I just put the barf
Maybe what we
emoji up.
should do is just set up a MacYak Facebook group.
that's a good idea.
They could do that.
Yeah, but then we run into that memory problem we talked about at the very beginning of the stream.
Yeah, right.
Well,
The one, which one of us has the most memory in their Mac? They're going to be the designated
that would
Facebooker.
be Greg.
No, I only got 16 gigabytes in mine. Sorry.
Oh, then it's Rocky.
No, I've only got 16 in mine currently.
Oh crap, then it's me.
You got 32?
I got 96, 69.
Oh, see?
One of the two.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you could set it up and we can all.
I'm one of those triple channel memory believers.
Hey, there you go.
Yep.
All right, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up because I think we're going to talk a little bit offline here to each other. But appreciate everybody joining us.
Yes,
Absolutely. Thanks for any questions and feedback. I tried to sneak some time in the chat, but wasn't much.
and I've made a copy of those Twitters on there. So thank you guys. It was a lot of fun. And
Absolutely.
like, subscribe.
So
Tell your friends.
Diabetes Goes MacYak MySpace group. Yeah.
Oh, hey, we should.
All right, guys. See ya.
See you, people.